Have you ever had the kind of day where you're convinced it would be just better if you could burn it all to the ground? That's been the kind of morning. Tony Katz, the show is Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Just a Connecticut from Aging Room right there is what we are smoking. Operation Midway Blitz is going on. You've got Israel hitting on Qatar because that's where Hamas is housed. I have got that story as well. A bunch of White House press briefing going on today. I'm glad you're here. It's going to be a good day. Let the other stuff, just go by the wayside. Let's start the radio show. So Israel hits Qatar, but they're not actually hitting Qatar. They're hitting Hamas because, Hamas has to be destroyed. U.S. officials seemingly were aware of this. And Israel clearly saying, well, if you want to discuss this as a matter of some kind of ceasefire, we want our people back. Nothing's going to stop us from destroying the leadership until we get our people back. So how about you just give back the people? A whole bunch of Hamas leaders targeted. The things will change as they get more information out there. So really, today's information is all going to be suspect. It'll be tomorrow that really tells the tale. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over there at TonyKatz.com. Just that easy, just that simple. You should be a part of that as quickly as possible. The attack is not the biggest story. The biggest story is probably what's going on with this Operation Midway Blitz. Right? You've got the administration saying that we're going to make more moves into Chicago. The ICE operation will target the criminal illegal aliens who flocked to Chicago and Illinois because they knew Governor J.B. Pritzker and his sanctuary policies would protect them and allow them to roam free on American streets. That is very direct. That's from the Department of Homeland Security. That isn't from Trump. That is from Homeland. So the question is, what really changes because of this operation? Is there something that we are going to now see that we haven't so much seen before? Tom Homan, who is the border czar, was this morning on MSNBC.
So what is that reasonable suspicion? Is it an accident? Is it a tattoo? Is it a job? Tell us what that means. A lot
of those things combined. We don't arrest people just based on their looks, right? But it's a myriad of factors. It's when people see if they have this MS-13 tattoo on his face, that is one factor. It leads to reasonable suspicion, but there's other factors too. Before they do these operations, they do surveillance. They run intelligence information. They look at background information. They look at undercover videos and taps. They look at social media reports. They copy license plate numbers of people who are leaving and coming. They build reasonable suspicion. That's what's required by law, and I'm confident the men and women, the Border Patrol and ICE, are establishing reasonable suspicion when they detain somebody briefly and question them. And look, the Supreme Court just agreed with us. I said from day one that the law enforcement officers are enforcing the law and acting within the law. Every ICE officer, every 6 months, has to go through Fourth Amendment training, refresher training, on what's required by law to detain, question, seize, arrest. So these are well-trained officers doing exactly the right thing. And
now, I don't know if that makes a dent to the MSNBC audience. I really don't. I'm unaware of whether or not they hear these things and say, okay, there's a system at play. There is a process at play, that these things are vetted, that these things can work, and we can have a safer society. I don't know if they hear it. There is a video out of Homan on MSNBC this morning trying to explain that entering the country illegally is a crime. It goes on for 13 minutes. 13 minutes of trying to explain this to Morning Joe.
That's the case. However, I will say this. If they're in the country illegally, that is not okay. And people think illegal immigration is a victimless crime, and it's not. I don't know the case. I don't know the public safety threat, but I will say this. There are millions of people standing in line, taking their tests, doing the background investigation, paying the fees to be part of the greatest nation on earth. And the people who are doing things the right way are sitting in the back seat while we had millions of people come across the border in the Biden administration and cheated the system. People can call them asylum seekers all they want, but if you look at immigration court data, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border under Biden end up with an order of removal because they don't qualify for asylum. They're pushing themselves to the front of the line, and there are thousands of people in the world who actually are escaping fear and persecution from their homeland. They're sitting in the back seat while people violate the laws, disrespect to this nation. If you want to be a part of the greatest nation on earth, there's a right way and wrong way to do it. So if you're in the country illegally, you may not be a priority because we prioritize public safety threats and national security threats, but it's not okay to be in this country illegally.
Okay, so
he goes on and he can go on and on and on and on, but she's going to be like, well, what's illegal? Right? He's making this cogent argument. The cogent argument is an effective one if you actually want to hear it. The question is, who is actually hearing it? Because if you were to listen to the political left, they are going to put people on the on out there like this response to Tom Homan from the mayor of Evanston, Illinois.
We're at war with the criminal cartels, and Governor Pritzker protects criminal, illegal alien public safety threats every day in that state, along with Mayor Johnson.
Mayor Biss, what do you say to that?
It's absurd. I'm so proud of our police department. I'm so proud of how they have worked successfully to make our city safer and safer. We are fortunate to have gone 2.5 years now without a homicide in Evanston for the first time in my lifetime. And the last thing we need is for our police officers to be distracted from the actual job they do phenomenally well to terrorize our people, the very people they're supposed to be keeping safe. So it's just dishonest, it's inaccurate,
Terrorizing.
and real efforts to keep our people safe are not only okay, they're important, they're critical. It's what I do every day as mayor. It's the opposite of what ICE is trying to achieve.
Terrorizing. If all you've got is a demonizing, well then that's all you've got. But it isn't where Americans live and breathe. The Attorney General in Indiana is going after a group. I shouldn't say going after. He's trying to get information from a group that states that they're all about helping immigrants. But it's possible that they are actually working to thwart immigration and customs enforcement in the state. So the Attorney General is asking for information about what is it that you are actually doing here. The Democrats say that this is just setting the stage for Trump to come in to Indiana. And I said, wait a second. It's the mayor, Joe Hogsett is his name, setting the stage. You had rioting in Indianapolis during the George Floyd era. 2 people were killed. The mayor was nowhere to be found. This may sound like your city. This is Indianapolis. You have a constant crime problem. You have a constant homeless problem. You have a city that has all the opportunity in the world, but a leadership that won't do anything about these issues. You have homeless encampments where they say, oh, you noticed. Well, we'll clean up that homeless encampment. And then they don't. It is the mayor, the Democrat mayor of Indianapolis, Joe Hogsett, that has set the stage for any level of forces coming in. And the response was, you, Tony Katz, want everything to be big government. God almighty. There's this weird, peculiar, strange argument that has been happening and circulating amongst the left. Hey, what if we can call the conservative socialists? That'll work. And it's a great example of the concept of projection. The thing that they are, they accuse you of being. The thing that they do, they accuse you of doing. If you ask me, why can't the governor send in the National Guard? Well, that's a great question. Why can't he? I have made the argument from the very beginning. It's too bad that these pseudo-intellectuals don't listen to the show. They do, but they don't pay attention. If you understand, they're all listening to us, guys. They're always listening, and then they're like, well, let's just pretend that didn't happen. That's exactly how they go about it. What did we say from the beginning? That Trump and this takeover, if you will, in D.C., which is different than Illinois. What is the purpose of this? To model the behavior for red states so they could do something about their blue cities. See, guys, this is how it's done. And then we discussed how red states could work with the Trump administration by welcoming in the help and the resources, the dollars, to be able to have better effect in cleaning up these cities. Blue states won't do it. Red states, we pointed to Louisiana specifically for this conversation, and the governor there, Jeff Landry, and said, yes, this should happen. I'm on record. We have been discussing this for days, and they're now throwing this at us. Oh, you're just big government guys. The income tax is an abomination before the Lord and should be destroyed. Now tell me how big government I am. By the way, I don't think that this is something that's just happening to me. If it hasn't already happened to you on your social media feeds, you know it's coming, right? It's totally coming. They don't have anything they can address. They don't have anything they can grab a hold of. They don't have a subject that connects with the American people. They know they're socialists. And so what do? Well, you guys are just big government socialists. The bots were all about, y'all, you MAGA people, you socialist MAGAs. Who's the guy opposed to the United States grabbing 10% of Intel? I'm doing like a Tim Walz kind of wave. Yeah, it wasn't very manly at all. I should avoid doing that at all costs. I apologize. These people are just ridiculous. Funny thing about Indianapolis, I'll give you as an example. When the General Assembly here said, well, Indianapolis is a problem, it's a mess. You know what? We should talk about a state takeover. The civic leaders, the people with their names high on the buildings, the people who've got all the cash, signed letters, open letters saying, you leave Indianapolis alone. Oh. So you know there's a problem. You won't say anything about it. We don't do anything about it. The state says, hey, maybe we should do something about it. And then all of a sudden you get all riled up and say, you leave us alone. So maybe I should applaud the Democrat right here. Why for finally wanting the General Assembly to get involved and take over the state. Red state governors should be doing this. It's time to take the blue cities back. They can't run cities. They endanger everything. And very often these are the capitals. And you say to me, Tony, is that really their job? I am one of the people who argues that so goes the capital, so goes the rest of the state. This is mostly true. You could argue this is not true in California, where Los Angeles and San Francisco are the population centers. In New York, Albany is not the power center. New York City is. But if you talk about Midwest states, well, the capital is it, right? That's the driver. I would say that's true in the great number of Midwest states and a bunch of Western states. So I think my theory still holds true, even though there are some exceptions. Take control. Get the crime under control. Do it because it's the right thing to do. I don't need any federal anything. They want to write a check, let them write a check to you. And I'm assuming there are plenty of governors who want that. But you can't let things just go the way they're going. I don't know if Operation Midway Blitz is going to change anything. We have not yet, as I'm talking right now, seen any changes. I don't know if legally Trump is able to actually engage a level of federalizing. I do know the more attention you bring to it and the more they fight safety and security, the worse they do November 3rd, 2026. That's the midterms. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Why was my mic muted? Super weird. What do we got? What do we know? What's happening? What do you say? It's good to see everybody there in the chat. Good to see everybody joining the show. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. We've got the White House press briefing at 1 o'clock. So I will bring that to you. I'm just checking some basic stuff here. Coming back to the show. Go from there. Good, and good. So France is a big, hot mess. And the people there are protesting with oomph.
Le pouvoir est à toi. Réveille-toi, le pouvoir est à toi.
I'm not an expert on French, but I believe what they're saying is Macron sucks. I don't know. You might have to get the translators in here to figure that out. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over there at TonyKatz.com. So they decided a no contest vote. A no contest. What is it? They don't have faith in you anymore. No confidence vote on the prime minister. And the prime minister says, all right, if you want to have a no confidence vote, fine. They have the no confidence vote. 364 versus 194. Yeah. The prime minister, François Bayrou, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's out. I believe he handed in his resignation today. So now you've got Macron, the president, looking for his 7th prime minister. It's the 4th prime minister he'll be looking for in the past 12 months. Guys, I am not an expert on French politics. I know that these are people who had a conversation about liberty and a conversation about the guillotine. That is, I believe, the alpha and the omega. Liberty, sure, right? France is the home of both Lafayette and Robespierre. So with that, they are very much not stable. What I know is that the French are not happy. And how could one possibly be happy in a nation that has allowed itself to do away with its own national pride? Now, it's a loaded term. It can be taken in a lot of dangerous ways. Let me try on a most base level. They're French. Never mind their failures throughout history, because they've also had successes throughout history. They are believers in France. They are supporters of France. They are lovers of France. They are proud of France. They are French, and they never take a moment to remind you of how French they are. You should never forget how important the French are. Okay, would you just stop talking already, France? Dear Lord. The EU has been a disaster because the EU, and the UK was right to leave. The EU not only engaged them economically differently and put them dependent upon other nations, it took away a bit of their soul. They're no longer this place. They're part of this group. And the French are not so keen on being states. Listen, Texas may not look too favorably on Vermont, but the United States is the United States. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. France does not feel that way about Germany or Spain. So now there's an argument amongst the French people. Not only have you screwed us regarding immigration, but this EU thing is a disaster. We'd like to be France again, and we'd like to be our own people, our own border, our own sovereignty. Macron's got problems. This is Tony Katz today. Huge problems. Big, stupid problems. By the way, that is the 3rd time my microphone has gotten stuck in the off position today. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I've had this board for a while. I smoke in this studio. It could have an effect. I might need a new board. If you ask, I use it is used everywhere. The Rodecaster Pro. They changed everything. I do not use a Rode mic for the show. I use a Shure SM7B. I didn't always. I used a Electro Voice For the great majority of my career is what they use in the station, what I use in the home studio. I just changed this up to change this configuration up where the microphone is. And I still, it angles down a little bit, but I think that's all right because I don't think you see it that way. It's over here. It's off camera. This works. And most people do it like they have it like straight out like this. You know, I do not. I guess I could. Couldn't I do that? Like if I were to, don't mind me. No, I can't bring it over anymore. Well, I could, couldn't I? I can twist. No, I can't. So this is just where it's going to be. Who am I to be messing with this during the show, Tony? That's smart and healthy. See, but now I'm looking at it. That's angled now. See, that's what OCD is really like right there. But the Rode podcast, if you're going to do a podcast, it is all you need. I use this for Eat, Drink, Smoke as well. I have a different one. You could just put the SD card in. You could do 4 microphones. You could have some built-in effects. The processing is fantastic depending on microphone type. Rode makes some great microphones. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their work. I happen to like this microphone has a little more bass, the SM7B from Shure, but it's just all there. And then you just pop it out and you can upload and done. You can bring in other things. You can connect to your laptop via USB. There's some wireless capabilities. You can bring in a phone for phone interviews. I think they just did a brilliant job with it. Brilliant. But anyway, microphone stuck. And I'm like, I think I might be due. Yes, Cindy, that is absolutely right. Did I see that the Prime Minister of Nepal was thrown into the river? Was that it? That's what I thought happened. The president of Nepal was thrown into. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was mistaken. No, I don't think I am. The Prime Minister, Nepal River. Let me see. Oh, it's a little bit more than that. Parliament got set on fire. Good gosh. That just happened. Yeah, Japan, though, that was just the election. There are changes going on all around the globe. Let's just hope they're good ones. Let me get back to the show. I'm glad you guys are here. It's not a bad Connecticut. Aging room. It's an easygoing Connecticut. That's why I like it. So I brought up France and the issues there with the prime minister and the no confidence vote, and the chat room, as we are on YouTube at Tony Katz, youtube.com/Tony Katz, on Twitter X, Tony Katz. Me, I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. Smoking the aging room, Connecticut cigar, lovely little Connecticut, and wearing the Flederman Von Riest. This is the chronograph. Right here, Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E, vonriest.com. Use promo code CATS and get your discount. Von Riest, assembled in America. A watch that'll last generations. Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E, vonriest.com. Use promo code CATS to get your discount. You have the Prime Minister of Japan resigning, but that was after elections. There were 2 elections that took place in Japan over the last year. Lost both of them. He resigned. Okay. Again, not an expert in Nippon politics. There's a cultural element in play, other things. That's different than Nepal, where right now they have set the parliament on fire. This breaking as we're talking. This is the BBC reporting that Nepal's parliament set on fire after the prime minister resigns over anti-corruption protest. dancing and chanting around the fires. All the windows have been smashed inside the building. This, according to reporters they have in Kathmandu. The Nepalese army is now set to take control of the situation. What in the hell? Putting out a statement accusing protesters of taking advantage of the current crisis by damaging, looting, and setting fire to public and private property. Holy crap. If this continues, then, quote, all security institutions, including the Nepal army, I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, are committed to taking control of the situation. We appeal to all citizens to support the army in this effort. Upon assessing the situation, updates will be provided. Oh, goodness gracious. This starts out as a, oh my gosh. And understand this is all breaking right now. You understand that this is the moment of dictatorship. This is the moment of authoritarian regime. This is the moment of military junta. There's no leadership right now in Nepal. And you say to me, Tony, it's Nepal. Well, first of all, there are 30 million people who live in Nepal. Secondly, have you ever taken a look at a map? This is a place that has enough issues with its location. If you take a look at the map, you realize, oh, there's a lot of people, a lot of nations that might be a little interested in creating some kind of issue, like, let's say, oh, I don't know, China. Take a look. I'm staring at the map right now. You share, here you go. You take a look at where India is. You take a look where China is. And, oh, hey, how are you? Right there in the middle. All I'm saying is that this is not something that you want to witness. Not something that you want to watch. Worthy of paying attention to, and we will. Equally worthy of paying attention to is this story about the auto pen. You say to me, Tony, we're still talking about the auto pen? We're still talking about the auto pen because even the Biden administration stated out loud, this is a real problem. You guys with this auto pen, you guys signing pardons with an auto pen, this is not going to pass muster. We're not sure these signatures are legit on a pardon. His own team, his own people were saying this. The emails say there's a question about whether he was aware of who he was pardoning and whether he had approved the clemency grants during the last days in office. Everything that we said, Joe Biden was not running the country. We know that a cabal was running the country near Tandon and Tony, what's his name from the Joe Biden space. And to what extent Ron Klain was still involved or had his hand in the cookie jar, I don't know. But what we had was a group of people running the country, and it wasn't Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't know where he was. Jill Biden was in on the coup, and so was Hunter. No question. Joe Biden said, here is a bunch of parameters for pardons, for clemency. There you go. And so they took that. They said, all right, that's all these people. All these people, they get a pardon. All these people, they get clemency. And then they changed the parameters. There's no understanding whether Joe Biden knew what the parameters were. First, you're giving clemency based on parameters and not on people. That in and of itself is a problem. What was actually signed from that is a problem. But then you actually expand the parameters. The president isn't aware of it, and he still wants to say, I knew everyone I signed. The hell you did. You didn't know anything you signed. You weren't awake for it. You weren't cogent for it. You weren't. So let's stop pretending that you were, and let's pretend that we're not pretending. Let us understand that this is a scandal. Even his own team said, I am sorry, not sure that this is going to pass. The pardons for James Biden, the sister-in-law, the sister, the brother-in-law, his brother, those who made this happen? Was it really him? Never mind everything else that he put out there. Never mind the rest. This AutoPen story is indeed a real story. One that is going to not only require our attention, but one that we simply can't let go of. You can't. It's very clear and it's very obvious. And you even had James Comer, who is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Republican. This is now something else. We've already heard from people regarding this. We're doing the interviews. We're not going to stop. And they shouldn't. There is a real, true, glorious scandal here. In the same conversation of scandal comes how the left has responded to the murder of Irina Sarutska, this Ukrainian woman in Charlotte. This story is finally getting coverage. And this story is getting coverage because some of us demanded it. This video showing Irina Sarutska being stabbed to death by a guy who had been in jail repeatedly, in and out of jail. The court's not doing their job. The latest judge said, here, sign this and promise you'll come back for your court date. Promise you'll come back for your court date. This guy had been in and out of jail more than a dozen times. They knew he was not okay, mentally ill, if you want to call it that, and still sign here and promise to come back to your court date? You know what I didn't know until this morning? As I was covering the story and getting information, I thought this took place over the weekend. I was wrong, and I apologize. This took place on August 22nd. A black man killed a white woman, stabbed her to death on a train. You want to call it a metro? I don't care what you call it. And we didn't have the story getting broken open wide until the first weekend in September? 2 weeks later? You better believe the effort was to suppress this story because it didn't fit narrative. And now, people like are all infuriated. People like me, they reference on the show Charlie Kirk, because they noticed that this has a lot to do with a black man killing a white woman, and that doesn't fit the narrative at all. This is Van Jones in his words.
That's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game, and it's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
You know, let me just say a couple of things. One is, what happened to that young woman was horrible, and it's everybody's nightmare. If you're in any public space, a subway, whatever, that something bad's going to happen to you or somebody you care about. So it does strike a chord. We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass.
Now, the way Kirk said it was, if this had gone the other way, there would have been huge changes in the country. No, there would have been the attempt for huge changes in the country is the way to say it. Secondly, it is very clear to anyone that if it had been a white man who killed a black woman, the immediate charge would have been race, 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 and nothing else would have come up. Van Jones has to know this, and he has to say that. He has to be able to say that we jump to a racial conclusion way too often in America. The left is absolutely guilty of this, and it has to stop. But the video, the security cameras there on the light rail show this happening, show him dripping with blood after he got up after he was done killing her. And he said twice, "I got that white girl." I don't believe it makes it more of a crime. I don't believe in hate crimes. I don't believe in hate crimes legislation. I haven't changed. But there is no doubt that this was a white woman killed because she was white. And we should say so, and how wrong it is. And now we have to do something about people who shouldn't be on the streets. Let's reopen the asylum. All of them. But we have to be honest about what we're seeing here. More coming up. I'm Tony Katz. So, sorry, guys. There's a video now released showing Irina Zarutska after she was stabbed. We were led to believe that she was stabbed to death, and she was. Except she didn't die right away. The video shows her fully alert, fully aware, looking up at the person who just stabbed her, blood on her knee, crying into her hands. There are 5 people near her. One guy gets up and then just walks right out of frame, looks at her and walks. There's a woman sitting on the seats next to her, gathers her things like she's just going to walk away. Then there are 3 grown men behind who do nothing. There are no words to express how sickening it is to see this apathy. There is broken society, man. It is an obscenity before the Lord. We got to decide what kind of world we want to live in. What world do we want to live in? And I'm telling you right now, it ain't that one. Wow. You rarely see things that'll shock you anymore. Rarely. Coming back to the show. Do I bring this up in the show? Yeah. White House press briefing is coming up. Don't worry, I'll bring it to you as I do. Forgive me. There's now a video out that you're going to need to see. And no part of this is going to be easy. You would think that I'm setting you up for some joke. There's nothing funny about what just transpired. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. What just transpired is that when you saw the video out of Charlotte on this light rail and Irina Zarutska being murdered, what you saw was her sitting down, this man behind her, this black man behind her. What? The left always talks about race, so I'm bringing up the race. This mentally ill man, this guy who should have been behind bars, but a judge said, well, here, sign here and promise to come back to court and you can go out on your own. Cashless bail doesn't work. Obvious. She sits down, this man is behind her, and you see him stand up and like wind up with his right hand, and then the video stops. And then the next thing you see is him kind of walking the car, and blood is dripping from him. So whether he cut himself, it's her blood, I don't know. And that's all you saw. What you did not see, and if you follow me on Twitter X at Tony Katz, you'll see it. She didn't die from the stabbings right there. She was aware of what was happening. She has blood on her left knee. You can't really see where else she'd been stabbed. Her hat gets knocked off. There are 5 people behind her. 4 behind her, all men, 1 woman to her right. One of the men gets up, looks at her, and walks away, walks out of frame. The woman gathers her phone and her backpack and stands up and walks out of frame. She was stabbed, and not one of these people moved to subdue, moved to help. She is crying into her hands. Did she know she was going to die at that moment? You're watching it. I would feel much better if this was AI. I don't believe it is. we've got a serious problem in society, and there is a way to fix it. Keep it here. I've got more. This is Tony Katz today. Holy bloody hell. It is flat out. No, I'm not sharing it. I shared it on social media. You know what? I'm not putting it. No. Do I put it on the air? Do I put it on here? I don't know. Sometimes I don't have the answer, but you know what? I shared it there. Now I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it be. I'm going to leave it be. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a break. The radio show is in break, so we will be in break. We'll come back. We've got the Karoline Leavitt press briefing. Should be interesting. I don't know. Maybe Trump makes an appearance. You never know. It's happened before. If you smoke him, if you got him. The world is crazy. We don't have to be. And we are, they not like us, man. People who will walk away from helping, they are not like us. Doesn't matter their color, religion, anything. Good Lord. Sometimes you can't help. Sometimes you might be afraid to help. There's 4 of these men. They could have helped. Keep it here. We'll get back to the show, guys. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. They're gearing up for the press briefing. It is a full house over there. I'm assuming that snacks will be provided. That's the live shot of the White House briefing room. If you didn't know, briefing room is super small. Super duper tiny is the White House briefing room. Yet a lot happens from that place. Don't forget defiancebeef.com. Just days away from getting my order. I ordered a quarter of a cow. I know, I call it a cow. I'm getting the strips. I am getting the ribeyes, the ground beef, the brisket. It's going to be fantastic. You want to use a promo code Eat Drink Smoke. You want to go to defiancebeef.com. Promo code Eat Drink Smoke. Age 21 days. So incredibly tender. Cut to your specifications. How thick do you want these things to be? Your steaks to be? It's all there for you. Just tremendous. All done right here in Indiana and shipped directly to you. Cryovac, good to go into your freezer, onto your grill, into your belly. Go to defiancebeef.com. Use promo code Eat Drink Smoke and get $150 off your first order. Let's go do some radio, guys. Glad you're here. The press briefing is coming. The press briefing will be starting any moment. And I'll bring it to you. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. What's interesting is if you've done this long enough, you'll see people who you know. Right? I'm looking through. All right, yeah, I've had a drink with him. I've had cigars. I don't know. I have not set up to try and be the guy in the digital seat or anything else like that. I don't know. That means going to DC and being around all these people, and I've got cigars and I've got you, boo boo. I don't know why I need to do any of that. That just seems silly. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. Smoking the Aging Room, Connecticut. Getting ready for the press briefing. Yes, I do smoke cigars during the show. You can too. I am not here to judge. Just be of legal age. That's all I can ask you to do. Thank you. While we're waiting on this, have you guys heard the story of liar Greta? Greta is Greta Thunberg. Thunberg. Greta Thunberg is the one who told you that you are guilty for everything regarding global warming or climate change or whatever they called it. We're all going to die. And remember, she was speaking at the UN, and Trump came to the UN, and she was in the background. She's scowling at him. Child, what are you doing? Which was exactly the point, by the way. Child. She is a child, or at least she was, and I was never going to say anything about her. It's like David Hogg. When David Hogg was spewing all that anti-Second Amendment nonsense, I never said a single thing bad about him. Why would I? He was a kid being abused by his parents or other adults, and all I noted was that it was ugly. That's where I left it. Now, as an adult who shamefully was able to get a degree from Harvard, I think, by the way, in the social media seat is Michael Schellenberger, who's an excellent journalist. I could say anything I want. Same thing about Greta Thunberg, who has moved from climate to being supportive of Hamas. It's what she's done. Now, in the case of Greta Thunberg, I am convinced that she has some kind of issue, whether that is autism, Asperger's, whatever the case may be. This is my take. She's never been diagnosed. I cannot diagnose her from here. I think there's an issue there. I don't think I'm wrong in saying so. I cannot say I know for a fact. I don't know for a fact. What I know is that she is on another flotilla traveling to Gaza to give aid and comfort to terrorists. That's what I know. Well, her boat caught fire. The boat caught fire and they claim they were hit by a drone. That's what they said. They said they were hit by a drone. Oh my gosh, who's trying to take out Greta Thunberg? Nobody. Now, I could make the argument that if somebody wanted to try and pin something on the Israelis, you could do something terrible like that, which no one should do and no nation should do. But we should be aware that she should be stopped, and she is indeed despicable. Engaged in an act that's despicable, and maybe we can't blame her because if you follow my thought process, she's just being used and the whole thing is horrific. Abused, mentally abused, used her whole life. It's awful. Was the flotilla, was it hit by a drone? Doesn't seem that way. What it seems is that someone on the boat shot off a flare gun. Now, I'm not an expert on flare guns, guys. I am somewhat of an expert on gravity, having lived with it my whole life. And I am pretty sure that what goes up. Now follow me here. This is shocking for some people. What goes up must come down. Listen, I don't claim any level of expertise here. What I'm saying is that according to the sources, what goes up,
must come down. Spinning wheel, got to go round.
I've lost my ability to monetize this live stream, but it was worth it. What goes up must come down. These are the rules. This is science, people. 6 feet of separation, not science. What goes up must come down, science. They fire the flare. The flare came back into the boat. It wasn't a drone attack. Some schmuck fired a flare. Flare came back into boat. But they couldn't say that. They couldn't admit to that. Drone attack. Just a reminder that everybody who is dealing with supporting Hamas, who is trying to provide cover for Hamas, every single one of them, a liar. A liar, a fraud. Not a debate, just the facts as presented. Now, we're getting ready for the White House press briefing, which I think may have been delayed. So we'll see how that goes. We'll take the quick break. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. It seems that the briefing may have moved to a 1:30, which is fine. We'll still cover what of it we can. But the room looked full, like the room looked ready. So I don't know what the delay is about there. Let me see what we've got. Okay, perfection and solid and good. 1 minute to go. What do you guys got? What's going on here? Let me take a look. Why was it necessary to fire the flare in the first place? That's a great question. It could have been they were just signaling to other boats, larger ships, that they were in the area. There could be a lot of reasons to do that. Maybe somebody was looking for them to get them some supplies or something like that. I don't have an answer for you. So I'm not sure what the reason was for the drone. And yes, how dare you? How dare you have any happiness whatsoever? Only I in my frog hat can be happy. Don't you know? She does have a bowl cut. She does look like, what is it, Prince Farquaad? Lord Farquaad. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what she looks like. Right? I don't know. She chose it. Getting ready for the White House press briefing, which seems to have been put on a bit of a hold. Wait, they didn't. Everybody was assembled. Oh yeah, they just delayed a little bit. They did not. They did not cancel. They simply delayed till 1:30. Not sure why. I hope to be able to cover it. I mean, I got things I got to do, Karoline Leavitt. I can't just be hanging on like this. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Things like, there are good stories. There are bad stories. There are nutty stories. Then there are the stories that are just absolutely horrible. And then there's this right here.
Your car's seatbelt, safety miracle or decapitation nightmare?
What is the connection between rain and farming? The answer may surprise you.
Heroin, sex, machine guns, flamethrowers, murder. There's no story here. We've just found that ratings go up when we say those words.
It's time for the worst headline of the day.
Woman allegedly registered her dog to vote in California, cast ballots twice. Yeah, that happened. This woman is charged with 5 felonies for allegedly registering her dog to vote and casting ballots in the pup's name in the 2021 California gubernatorial recall election and the 2022 primary election. This announced from the Orange County District Attorney's Office. But voter fraud never happens, Tony. That's just a right-wing myth. Not a myth. I am not okay with even hearing this as a possibility of a story. And it signals to me that we are not doing anywhere near enough to ensure the safety and security of the vote. Well, Tony, they're prosecuting They're going after this woman. So clearly the system works. No. It already happened. The system doesn't work. The prosecution of the thing is proof that the system works. Well, that is criminally insane. I mean, that's beyond belief criminally insane. That would be like saying that the job of the police, the whole purpose of the police, is to investigate crime, not to stop crime. Time now for another rousing edition of Jasmine Crockett Masticistera. Representative from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, went on a podcast to explain her views about policing, they were many, including what the real job of the police is. Let us tune in now to Representative Jasmine Crockett as she explains what is indeed the role of the police.
I want to be clear that, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime, okay? That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening, per se. I want to be clear that, law enforcement isn't to...
I should look that up better. This has been another rousing edition of Jasmine Crockett Masticistera. The idea that police are there to solve crime, not stop crime, is pretty nutty. Considering that if you have a better police presence, if you have better law enforcement presence, if you have a better show of strength, people are less apt to engage in the crime. Which is why we should do away with these gun-free zone disasters. But what a thing to say. What a thing to believe. What an outrageous argument to make. The police aren't there to stop crime. Only proving the point of every single gun owner in America that when seconds count, the police are minutes away. Certifiable. The answer is not, well, we're prosecuting this woman for lying about a voter registration and registering her dog to vote and then voting for the dog. The damage was already done. Now we have to discuss how one prevents the damage from taking place. And one prevents the damage from taking place by requiring 2 forms of photo ID. That's what we need from California. Listen, we have to treat California the way the left still wants to treat Alabama and Mississippi. They have to be treated like they are a rogue nation that doesn't actually believe in the rights of all people, or respect the rights of all people. We have to ensure that California is not able to usurp the decisions and the choices of other states. So they need 2 forms of ID. And if they do not pass legislation demanding that at every vote on the federal level, they have 2 forms of ID, well, then we're not going to accept their votes. They simply are not welcome to vote. Nope. They get no representation whatsoever. They can't vote for president. End of story. Fight me on this. Go on. Tell me why this is such a bad idea. You want to stop the people from voting. I want to ensure that the people are voting. I don't want the dogs voting, although some people would argue. Sorry, I made myself laugh because I knew what I was going to say. That the dogs might do a better job of it. They might. And then, of course, can the German Shepherds vote because they're not from here? I could hear you with your own dog joke. I can feel them. Just the wave of puppy jokes. You can't have it. You simply cannot have these things. And you have to say no. So the answer is 2 forms of identification, photo, in order to vote. I think I'm making perfect sense. I think I'm the only person making sense. Except for the Fourth Circuit Court. They have decided to say to a lower court that you guys are all silly. 2-1 decision from the Fourth Circuit, which is in Virginia, the Court of Appeals, looking at the lower court and said no. What did they say no about? 19 states sued the federal government because Trump fired approximately 25,000 probationary government workers. He can fire whomever he chooses. No one's guaranteed a job. And these states sued to say, no, you can't do this. You can't just fire people. What a crazy thing. The judges in their ruling in the 2-1 decision, we acknowledge that the abrupt and indiscriminate dismissal of the probationary employees here exacted all too human costs upon those affected. But this real impact on the employees, who are not parties here, cannot govern our review. Instead, we are required to answer a narrower question concerning the plaintiffs in this case. Whether a group of states may invoke the jurisdiction of a federal district court to oversee the federal government's compliance with federal employment laws governing the termination of federal employees. The relief requested here is wholly out of proportion to the injury alleged. To hold that standing exists would upset, indeed revolutionize, the balance inherent in dual sovereignty, one in which reciprocal respect must be accorded by one sovereign to the paramount interests of the others. They continue, we must hold, as the Supreme Court's decision plainly dictate, that these plaintiffs lacked standing to seek the relief that they did. We therefore vacate the judgment below and remand with directions to the district court to dismiss the action. Trump has done very well in the court. Certainly not in every court. He wasn't able to dismiss the nonsense of E. Jean Carroll. But the winning in the courts has been happening. It's just that winning in the courts is frustrating. The time that it takes, how it prevents things from going forward, the level of logjam, the level of headache. This is pure lawfare from the left, and they have no plans of ending. It's like the whole thing about what was it? The appointees from President Trump, and usually they're just passed on a voice vote and, unanimous consent kind of things. And it happened on Obama's term, and it happened in Bush's term, and it happened in Joe Biden's term. The total amount of those approved by this Senate, 0. Because Democrats aren't letting it happen. These people are petty. These people are flawed. They're uninterested in actual governing. They only are interested in obstruction. And they should be treated as people who have no interest in governing. They have to keep losing elections until they learn. They have to keep losing elections. Let's make that happen. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Writing in your dog, Cindy, is different than voting your dog voting, right? If you want to write in your dog, if you want to vote for your dog, hey, people vote for Mickey Mouse. But mice should not vote. Neither should cartoon characters made up of 3 circles worth trillions of dollars. Mickey Mouse is 3 freaking circles. That's all. That's all it is. It is. Producer Landon's like, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh, it's real. 3 circles, $1 trillion. I do this for 6 hours a day. Do you see the problem? Do you see? See, my plan. I did not plan properly. That is my issue. That is my issue. Let's see where we are with the press briefing. Oh, they're ready. They're ready. Look at that. The room. This is where we left the room before. The room. I think there were some special instructions. That's what I think happened. I think there were some special instructions. Could have been about the Israeli hit on Hamas in Qatar. It could have been about some of these rulings. It could be about Operation Midway Blitz and what is taking place in Chicago. It could be about anything else. But you'll notice that on the screens, see, they just turned them on. There it is. There it is. Let's take it to Karoline Leavitt.
Good afternoon, everybody. Apologize for my tardiness today. Thanks for being here. Another packed room. It's good to see. We'll begin with a scheduling update today. President Trump will commemorate the 24th anniversary of 9/11 on Thursday with a visit to the Pentagon Memorial in the morning, followed by an appearance at the New York Yankees game at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx on Thursday evening. Next week, as you all know, the President and the First Lady will depart for their historic state visit to the United Kingdom on Tuesday, and they return to Washington on Thursday.
What makes it historic?
Today, I would like to address the tragedy that has not received nearly enough media attention, the brutal murder of Irina Zarutska. Here are the facts that many outlets have shamefully and intentionally failed to report until President Trump drew attention to it. On August 22nd, Irina Zarutska was stabbed to death on the rail system in Charlotte, North Carolina, by a savage career criminal. This is a public transportation system that many in the area use every single day to go to school and work. Irina was on the train that night traveling home from her job at a pizzeria, still in uniform from her shift. This beautiful, innocent 23-year-old young woman was a Ukrainian refugee who had recently fled her country for a chance at a safer life and a promising new beginning here in the United States of America. But tragically, a public transportation system in a major American city was more dangerous than the active war zone that she left. The president and the entire White House are praying for her family and friends during this unimaginably difficult time. But while we extend our thoughts and prayers, we must also seek justice for this crime and call attention to this heinous incident. Surveillance video of the killing was finally released to the public this past Friday. It shows the alleged killer, DeCarlos Brown Jr., pull out a knife, get up from his seat behind Irina, and prepare to thrust a blade into her neck before the released footage gets cut. This is pure evil on full display. The most enraging and unacceptable part of this story is that her death was entirely preventable. DeCarlos Brown never should have been on that train that night. In fact, he should have been behind bars. DeCarlos Brown has been charged with crimes no fewer than 14 times, dating back to 2011, including for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting. Brown had previously served 5 years in prison for a robbery with a deadly weapon charge, and he had also forfeited bonds 3 different times, twice in 2014 and once in 2023.
It's the White House press briefing. I'm Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. It's Karoline Leavitt, press secretary, after announcing where President Trump would be on September 11th, including a Yankees game that evening. She goes right into the murder in Charlotte, saying that this was not a story until President Trump brought attention to it. I don't know if that is 100% accurate, but she is discussing how this career criminal was allowed back on the streets, how Irina Zarutska was murdered. Let's go back to Karoline Leavitt.
Repeatedly breaks the law to just sign a written promise and come back again another day. This is madness. This monster should have been locked up, and Irina should still be alive. But Democrat politicians, liberal judges, and weak prosecutors would rather virtue signal than lock up criminals and protect their communities. And perhaps most shamefully of all, the majority of the media, many outlets in this room, decided that her murder was not worth reporting on originally because it does not fit a preferred narrative. Many of the journalists in this room spilled plenty of ink trying to smear Daniel Penny for defending a subway car from a deranged lunatic in New York City, but none of those same reporters lift a finger to write stories about an actual murderer. Here's the truth that every American must know. Too many innocent people across the country continue to pay the price of the failed experiment known as cashless bail that has been championed by the Democrat Party for years. All the way back in 2020, North Carolina's then Democrat Governor Roy Cooper established a so-called task force for racial equity in criminal justice. Sounds nice, but it's not. That task force was co-authored by then Attorney General and current Democrat Governor Josh Stein. It recommended, quote, reimagining public safety to, quote, promote diversion and other alternatives to arrest. It also advised to de-emphasize some felony crimes, prioritize, quote, restorative justice, and eliminate cash bail. Democrats in North Carolina and nationwide are consumed with pushing a woke, soft-on-crime agenda, no matter how many innocent Americans suffer as a result. Instead of aggressively prosecuting and locking up violent criminals, the Democrat-backed cashless bail approach lets these criminals roam free in our country to offend again and again.
The left might not like the fact that this is being politicized, but if you want to talk about cashless bail, if you want to talk about progressive policies, look how they failed. This is the argument. Now, the fact that you wouldn't cover the story because of the racial dynamics, well, everyone believes that to be true because it is true. It also didn't help your narrative for the leftists that this shows a crime when you keep trying to tell us crime is down. Maybe based on some numbers, but they've been at highs. And this is still happening because of your policies. Back to Karoline Leavitt.
To maintain order in public safety, we must incarcerate individuals whose pending criminal charges or criminal history demonstrate a clear ongoing risk to civil society. This is a common sense and sensible approach that the vast majority of Americans agree with, and it's time for the Democrat Party to get on board with what is right. When these criminals are caught, they must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and be sent to prison, where they can no longer terrorize our streets. This is the mandate the American people delivered to President Trump, and it's a mandate he intends to fulfill. Staying on the topic of public safety, new preliminary data released today by Customs and Border Protection in August shows that President Trump has delivered the most secure border in American history. For the fourth straight month, 0 illegal aliens were released into the United States by CBP.
0 is a good number.
Nationwide encounters are down 93% below the peak of the Biden administration. Border Patrol apprehensions on the southwest border in the entire month of August were less than what was apprehended in 4 days in August 2024 under the Biden administration. President Trump has ended disastrous Biden illegal alien invasion. He sealed our border in record time, keeping this central promise he made to the American public. With that, I will take your questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have Michael Schellenberger, who is the founder of Public News with nearly 2 million readers and subscribers. Michael, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And why don't you kick us off? Sure.
Thank you for making space for new media. Nice to meet all of you. It's great to be here. I want to see if you could give some insight into whether the president is considering additional measures against Europe and Brazil, not just for censorship, but also for preventing political candidates from actually competing in elections. We've now seen in Romania, France, and now Germany with Joachim Paul, efforts to basically just prevent candidates from being able to compete in elections. The president has shown some concern around President Bolsonaro, who's being prevented from running. All of this is coming in the context of increased censorship of online platforms, of American platforms, and efforts to censor Americans. I'm personally being investigated under criminal investigation with my Brazilian colleagues for publishing the Twitter Files of Brazil. We're very grateful that the president has imposed Magnitsky sanctions on the judge. Is the president considering additional actions, given that it appears that they're going to end up with a conviction against President Bolsonaro, preventing him from running? Is he considering doing anything about this crackdown in Europe? I mean, it's shocking to see Joachim Paul, this mayoral candidate in Germany, the criminal indictment against him cites him, quote, saying that he loves the Lord of the Rings as reason why he's an extremist and shouldn't be able to run. So I just wonder if you could speak to that. And again, I'm grateful to be here. Nice to meet you all. And I I'm grateful for what the Trump administration has done to push for free speech abroad.
Well, thanks for being here, Michael. We appreciate it. Freedom of speech is arguably the most important issue of our time. It is enshrined in our Constitution, and the president believes in it strongly. He himself faced censorship in his road back to this beautiful Oval Office here in Washington, D.C., so he takes this very seriously, as does, I know, the Vice President of the United States and the entire Trump administration, which is why we have taken significant action with regards to Brazil in the form of both sanctions and also leveraging the use of tariffs to ensure that countries around the world are not punishing their citizens in this way. And at the same time, the president is, while he's leveraging the United States to safeguard our interests abroad, he's also making sure that freedom of speech remains here in the United States of America. So I don't have any additional actions to preview for you today, but I can tell you this is a priority for the administration, and the president is unafraid to use
This goes along with an issue regarding tech and fines against U.S. companies, which I'll get into.
To protect free speech around the world.
Quick follow-up to that?
Sure.
Quick follow-up, which is just, there was a Reuters story saying that the Trump administration was looking at this Europe-U.S. trade deal as one of the sticking points, this issue of the censorship, not just of U.S. platforms, of Americans. Do you have any updates on how those trade talks are going? And I also wonder if the president is concerned about NATO membership. NATO membership requires that you be a democracy and you have free speech. Is it possible that some of these actions that we've seen in Romania, France, and Germany would disqualify those countries from being in NATO after this?
I have not heard the president discuss NATO membership in regards to this issue in particular, but I have heard him discuss the issue of free speech and the importance of free speech with foreign leaders around the world, including the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. When we were in Scotland, the president brought this up and how important it is for the Prime Minister to protect free speech in the UK and in various conversations with other world leaders. So he brings it up, and I think the entire world knows that this is a priority for the President of the United States. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline.
Now they move around the horn.
In Doha, how much time or how much of a heads up did the U.S. get, and does the president support this?
This is about the hit
Well,
from
I have a
Israel
statement to read
against
for all of you
Hamas
with
in
respect
Qatar.
to the Israeli strike in Doha, and here it is. This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that as Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. President Trump immediately directed Special Envoy Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack. President Trump wants all of the hostages in Gaza and the bodies of the dead released, and this war to end now. President Trump also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told President Trump that he wants to make peace, and quickly. President Trump believes this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. The president also spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. He assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their soil.
Well, he can do that all he wants, but the president can't guarantee that. Israel is going to make the moves that it makes, and the United States is going to have to decide what they do about that. But Israel is going to make its moves. I've got more of this press conference coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today.
And also the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar after this attack. And the president has always made it very clear that he wants peace in the Middle East, just like he sought that and accomplished that in his first term. He expects all of our allies and friends in the region, that includes both Qatar and Israel, to seek peace as well. And he wants to see that happen, and he's working with all of our allies in the region to get that done.
Are there any consequences, so to speak, for Netanyahu doing this, as it sounds, against the president's wishes, or at least his belief that it was appropriate? Is there going to be any directive from the president to Netanyahu in terms of what's allowed in the future? And also, is there any concern this could jeopardize the Abraham Accords?
Look, that's a decision only the president can make. With respect to your first question, to answer your second question, as you heard from the president, he said he believes that this can serve as an opportunity for peace, and he's still actively and aggressively pursuing it with all of our allies and partners in the region. Jennifer.
Just to follow up on that, Caroline, are you able to say how often the president spoke to the Prime Minister of Israel before this? Because that's one question. And then what did he mean on Sunday when he posted, "I've given my last warning to Hamas," etc.? He wasn't talking about this strike on Doha?
No, he was not. As I told you, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, and the president spoke to the prime minister after the attack, as well as, again, the emir and the prime minister
I'm
of
not
Qatar.
so sure
And I know Secretary
if it
Rubio
was
and
through the
Special
military
Envoy
or
Witkoff were present for that call with the
Netanyahu
Qataris as well.
specifically.
Raymond.
I'd wonder if that
I have two
changes.
questions for you on crime crackdown.
Sure.
Democrats have tried to argue that red states have higher crime rates while overlooking problems of high crime in blue cities. I'm wondering if the president would consider working with red state governors to fix high crime in blue cities like in Memphis, Tennessee.
So first of all, I want to get to the premise of your question, Reagan, which is being pushed by Democrats, that there is crime in red states. Of course, there is crime in all states, but the crime in these cities is all in cities that are run by Democrats. If you look at the list of the top 20 high crime cities in the United States, every single one, with the exception of one in Louisiana, is run by a Democrat. And these Democrats have supported the same policies that I spoke about at the beginning of this briefing, like cashless bail. If you look at a red state, Mississippi, but a Democrat-run city in that state, Jackson, in 2019, Jackson, Mississippi, eliminated cash bail for virtually all misdemeanor cases. And while Jackson is not formally a sanctuary city, the state of Mississippi formally banned sanctuary cities, and this city has acted as a de facto sanctuary city for criminals and illegal aliens since 2017. Same thing, Birmingham, Alabama, a Democrat-run city in a red state. In 2017,
Did we or did we not say it? It was the modeling.
Unanimously passed a resolution,
Hey, red state governors, you can do this.
Sanctuary policies. So if you actually look at the facts from these Democrat-run cities, these are cities that are run by Democrats and by by members of the Democrat Party. These are blue cities, and they have all supported these disastrous policies which allow repeated career criminals back onto the streets to further commit acts of violence. And so to answer your question, yes, the president wants to work with anyone across this country who wants to end these horrible policies and to bring law and order to our streets. And I think that is proven by his tremendous cooperation with the mayor of Washington, D.C. and our nation's capital. And just look at the results of that. And I do have some updates for you on the D.C. crime crackdown if anyone is interested.
Oh,
There have been a total of 2,177 arrests made since the start of the operation on August 7th. Just last night, there were 57 arrests made in Washington, D.C. Of the 57 arrests, there were 14 illegal aliens who were arrested, many of whom had prior criminal histories. And other arrests just last night in our nation's capital, so you all can be very grateful for this. Our great men and women of law enforcement, both federal and local, working together as they should, made an arrest on a warrant for assault with the intent to kill. The subject shot 2 adult males after an altercation. They made an arrest on a warrant for an armed carjacking. The subject assaulted an adult male in the face with a firearm and then took his keys. We also made an arrest on a warrant for simple assault and the destruction of property and subsequently charged with second-degree theft. Last night in D.C., there was an arrest for possession of a controlled substance with second-degree theft. There was an arrest for possession of a controlled substance with the intent to distribute. That subject, the person is also a subject of interest in a homicide and a carjacking. Last night in D.C., we also arrested a felon in possession of a firearm who was carrying that firearm without a license. So these are the career criminals. These are the bad guys that we are picking up in Washington, D.C. every day. The president would love to do this in every Democrat-run city across the country, and he hopes that more Democrats will call the White House to allow.
Come back to the radio show.
One more that's D.C. specific. Congress is poised to not extend Trump's federalization of the D.C. police. Mayor Bowser signed the executive
White House
order
press briefing continues. Karoline Leavitt discussing crime, how they're cleaning up D.C., going at about blue states in red cities, and will we see that happen? It's what we just discussed a little bit earlier and said absolutely that should be happening without question. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Karoline Leavitt, that's who you hear giving the White House press
Caroline.
briefing. Let's take it
The
back to it.
president says, he planning to speak with Putin soon. Can we expect a phone call between the two leaders this week?
I don't have any phone calls to read out between you, the president, and any other foreign leaders. Ed.
Thanks, Carolyn. I want to ask about the benchmark revisions that came out. If you look at the revisions between March of 2024 and March of 2025, and you do a little math, it averages out to 73,000 jobs roughly per month added to the economy, less than what was thought. When can we expect the Trump administration, now that their policies are rolling out, for that increase, that average to increase?
Well, let me just say something about the revisions that came out this morning. And this was one of the biggest revisions in absolute terms in decades. In the benchmark year, March 2024 to 2025, shows that the job growth was vastly weaker during the Biden administration than ever previously reported. Between this revision and last year's, job growth was actually overstated by approximately 2 million jobs. And the Biden administration stood up here and vouched for that data and told you that data was real. And when President Trump calls into question the veracity of that data, like he did before he took the oath of office and even now as President of the United States, he was ridiculed for that. And turns out this revision proves two things. Number one, the president was right. And this is why we need new leadership at the Fed. And this makes it very clear that President Trump inherited a much worse economy by the Biden administration than ever reported. And it also proves that the Federal Reserve is holding our monetary policy far too restrictive. Interest rates are too high. The Fed needs to cut the rates because of the mess that we inherited from the Biden administration.
Well, wanting to cut the rates has been the conversation from the word go, and Trump referring to Jerome Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve. It's too late. Jerome Powell, I'm telling you, I still don't see it. Like, there was a while there, I'm like, it's absolutely going to happen. It's going to happen. And now I'm like, I don't know. I'm sip a bourbon and let's see, and let's watch. I'm not going to be surprised. I was really like, okay, they're going to cut it. They're going to have no choice. They're going to cut it. I have no idea what these people are going to do. I have no idea what the Fed is going to do. Taking a Charlie Sperling right there asking.
And the Epstein files are back in the news because a lot of Americans feel that that Jeffrey Epstein's victims never got justice. Does the president care about these victims? Do you think he can does he want to deliver more justice for them? And is he willing to meet with them?
The president cares about victims of all crimes, and that's why Republicans in the Trump Department of Justice have done more in terms of transparency when it comes to the Epstein case than any prior administration. And why are the Democrats all of a sudden caring about this? It's because they are desperately trying to concoct a hoax to smear the president of the United States.
That's how it's
said. Time and time again. Ro Khanna and all of these other Democrats, they could have cared about those victims 4 years ago when Joe Biden was in office. They could have pushed for transparency then. Unfortunately, the Democrats are using victims as political pawns to try to smear and to push a hoax against the president of the United States. And I will get you numbers on the amount of child.
Epstein is not a hoax. We want the files. What Democrats are trying to do with the data, we're trying to do with the story. Okay, that's at least a differentiation. Finally, they have been handling this wrong from the beginning. This is the first step into handling it properly. Good Lord. By the way, release the files. I want the Epstein files released. The files.
Priority for this administration.
Does the president, will he meet with the victims?
On the Doha strikes, did the president speak with Netanyahu before they were carried out? Did he urge him to not go through with it, or did they only speak afterwards?
Again, I read you a statement. The Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas. The president
I find it very hard to believe Netanyahu didn't pick up the phone.
To immediately call the Qataris.
Very hard.
And after the attack, he spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
About the Epstein
I'll
case,
take a word
did
for
the
it.
White House support a professional handwriting expert review of the document released yesterday to prove that it's not the president's signature?
Sure, we would support that. And in fact, I have already seen many forensic analysts of signatures coming out. I believe it was the Daily Signal that published a piece with 3 separate signature analysts who said that this absolutely was not the president's authentic signature. And we have maintained that position all along. The president did not write this letter. He did not sign this letter. And that's why the president's external legal team is aggressively pursuing litigation against the Wall Street Journal, and they will continue to.
This is about the letter that Trump allegedly wrote to Jeffrey Epstein, wishing him a happy birthday, and drew some squiggly lines to make it look like a woman's body, and saying this, he never wrote this letter. This didn't happen. They're making it up. And the Wall Street Journal said, here's the letter. I mean, they're still on the subject. It's nuts.
Committed to these.
Absolutely nutty. The press briefing is going to continue. It's going to go on, but true to form, Karoline Leavitt, she's going to be wrapping this up. These press briefings have been running about 30 minutes, like clockwork. But on the Jeffrey Epstein story, it's the first time she's gotten to, or the administration has gotten to, okay, here's the differentiation when we talk about hoax. I still don't like the term hoax, but that was better. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today.
6 months in office.
I'm gonna let it run for
I would
a
have
few more
told
minutes
all
to
of
get
you
next week
that in
done.
January. You would not have believed me, but those are the facts and those are the numbers. And we also see many other positive signs in economic indicators like real GDP. In the second quarter, it was revised up to 3.3%. That beat the market's expectation. We know there's a capital spending boom right now, which we know is one of the greatest economic indicators of job growth. We know wages are increasing at a far faster pace than they were under the previous job growth. We know wages are increasing at a far faster pace than they were under the previous administration. We see productivity in the second quarter was also revised up to a strong 3.3%. In total industrial production, factory output also surged. All of this means the economy is moving, people are working, people are spending money. You look at consumer spending, that is also ticking up and in the right direction. And a large part, it's because of the incredible work the president has done in terms of energy and unlocking our energy dominance in this country. Again, these jobs, the numbers from the BLS today prove that the economy was an absolute mess, and we are working every single day to fix it, and all of those indicators I just read for you are positive sign of what is to come.
Just one more quickly on
Sure,
trade.
Danny.
Just wanted to get a bit of clarity on the sequence of events for the Doha attack and the notification. You said that the U.S. military notified, if I go right, the Trump administration was notified by the U.S. military.
That's right.
Was the U.S. military notified by the Israeli military, or did the U.S. military detect an incoming Israeli attack on Qatar?
The U.S. military notified the White House and the President of the United States. That's all I have to share for you on that, Danny.
Thank you.
People have a hard time with that one. I
Also
get it.
following up, you said that the president assured the leaders in Qatar that this would never happen again. Did he say that to the Prime Minister of Israel, and did Prime Minister Netanyahu agree to that?
The president told that to the emir and the prime minister of Qatar, and the president also overstressed the importance of peace in the region in his conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu as well. And Prime Minister Netanyahu told President Trump he wants peace and he wants it quickly. That's what the president expects to happen. The president is very clear in the statement that he just had me reading. You will all see it out on True Social very shortly, I am sure. The whole world will see it. He wants all of the hostages released out of Gaza, and he wants this war to end. Those are two clear directives that the president is making very clear for the entire world to understand. Mary.
But Qatar obviously has been helping to negotiate these ceasefire talks. Does the president think that Israel is undermining negotiations by striking Qatar? Is he concerned that Qatar's no longer going to want to play that intermediary role?
I think the president addressed that in the statement. I can read the whole thing for you again. I think it's
looks
very
a little
thorough
bothered.
because the president wanted to address all of your questions. He wrote,
There are some
we
actual
wrote,
pushback here.
unilaterally bombing inside
Because the
Qatar, a
statement-
sovereign nation and close ally of the United
Statement leaves
States
a bit
that
to
is
be
working
desired.
very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. So he answered that
And
question
to be clear,
himself.
you can't
Ouija.
say that Israel informed the U.S.
What I can tell you is the United States military informed the Trump administration. Ouija.
Thank you. A quick follow on that. Can you tell us when the U.S. military was notified, given that the largest U.S. military base is in Doha? And then I have a question on DC crime.
This morning, just before the attack, as I said earlier as well.
Okay, thank you. And yesterday, the president spoke about DC
Before
crime
the attack.
and talked about how there was virtually
Not
none.
as it was
and then
happening.
He expressed frustration.
So there was notification.
About
It's a little
things that
different than
take
our state.
place in the home. They call crime. He said, they'll do anything they can to find something. If a man has a little fight with the wife, they say this is crime. See, now I can't claim 100%. Exactly what crimes was the president referring to?
He wasn't referring to crimes. That's exactly the point he was making, Ouija. What the president is saying is that these crimes will be made up and reported as a crime to undermine the great work that the federal task force is doing to reduce crime in Washington, D.C. And I think the president has every reason to believe that, given the efforts of many reporters in this room who actively seek to undermine the president and what he's doing in our nation's capital. We all know that deep inside you all agree with this because you all live here, and I'm sure you are very grateful for the administration's efforts to make the city, which we all reside in, much safer for ourselves and our families. Michael.
Thank you, Karoline. Florida Congressman Randy Fine is calling for judges to face consequences if the violent repeat offenders they release go on to commit new crimes. Is that something the president supports?
This is not something I've heard the president discuss. You can ask him yourself next time you have the opportunity to. How's that?
Karoline, one more question. On Thursday, President Trump will head to the Pentagon and also to New York City in honor of the 24th anniversary of 9/11. Has the president expressed any interest on creating or having congressmen create a new 9/11 commission to answer some of the ongoing questions many Americans have about that day?
I, again, have not heard the president discuss that. You're welcome to ask him yourself, but I do know he very much looks forward to going to both the Pentagon and the Yankees game in New York City on Thursday to commemorate the 24th anniversary. As you know, the president is a New Yorker at heart. He loves the city very much. It is his home, and you'll hear more about that on Thursday when the president speaks on this himself. Kelly.
Caroline, thank you. I wanted to ask you a question about the president speaking yesterday before the Religious Liberty Commission. As you know, he's created the White House Faith Office, the Task Force on Anti-Christian Bias, and yesterday he talked about the importance of the Bible in America.
We do this
and
last
the
question.
importance of prayer in America.
I run.
Some people have criticized him for that in stating that he's espousing Christian nationalism. Yet the president has called on the American people to band together in praying for this nation for people of all faiths. How important is that to the Trump administration, and are there guidelines for implementing that?
Well, last time I checked, it's not just Christians who pray, it's people of all faith who pray, and that's what the president wants to protect, the religious freedom for Americans of all faith. And he spoke about that yesterday, and that's why he was very proud and excited to announce this new initiative, Pray America, encouraging all Americans to pray for our country and the goodness of our country leading up to America's 250th birthday next year. Why don't we take
Guys,
some from the
I
sides?
appreciate
Elizabeth,
you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I have two
I
questions.
appreciate you being
First,
here.
on prayer again.
I appreciate being able to do the show. I got to run. I've got more radio going. WIBC.com. You should check it out. There, easy to find, easy to do. I'll put it in the comments. You can catch the live stream. Super easy. I'm not here tomorrow. I'm at an event tomorrow. I'll be back with the live stream on Thursday, and you should be here as well. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you tomorrow. I'm sorry, Thursday. Yeah, right. Take care.